Nikola Tesla was a Serbian-American inventor who lived from July 1856 to January 1943. Perhaps you have not heard of him by name, but you will have undoubtedly heard of his many inventions. So let's look at the top inventions of Nikola Tesla. See how many of these inventions you still use today. Number 9. Alternating current. Alternating current is where Nikola Tesla's inventing truly began. It caused so much controversy at its time because Tesla was competing directly against the well-known inventor Thomas Edison, who had conceived direct current. Both are types of an electricity distribution method. Alternating current periodically reverses direction, and direct current flows in one direction continuously. At the time, Edison's direct current was being backed by General Electric, a big name in electricity in America. But Tesla proved that his method was cheaper and safer than the alternative. Alternating current is now the form of electricity that is delivered to homes and businesses for everyday use. When you plug in your household appliances, like a stove, a TV, or lights, you are using Nikola Tesla's alternating current. Electrical energy is distributed as alternating current because this way the voltage can be increased and decreased with a transformer. This means power can travel through power lines at a high voltage and then be stepped down to a lower and safer voltage for use in our homes and businesses. Without Tesla's alternating current, who knows where we'd be today? Number 8. Fluorescent light. Nikola Tesla had a great deal to do with the invention of various light forms. He basically came up with many ways that it can be harnessed and distributed to produce different forms of light. He developed and made use of fluorescent light bulbs around 40 years before the industry itself even started to use or advertise them. He attended the World's Fair and demonstrated his new light form by bending glass tubes into his fellow scientists' names, essentially creating the first neon signs. The high-frequency electricity he was producing allowed him to create bright illuminations that would later be known as fluorescent lighting. Next time you see shop signs illuminated at night, you'll be able to trace the invention back to Tesla. Number 7. The Tesla Coil. Tesla had always dreamed of being able to create a power supply for the world that would mean the end of wires being strung up around every household for every appliance. His invention of the Tesla Coil was the first system that could wirelessly transmit electricity, and it was said to be truly revolutionary. It was put to use for early radio antennas and telegraph poles, and also allowed Tesla to show off by shooting lightning bolts, sending electric currents through his own body and creating electron winds. The coil was developed in 1891 and was built to be able to tolerate high frequencies of voltage that ordinary transformers couldn't cope with. In basic terms, the Tesla coil is two open electric circuits connected to a spark gap. The primary coil is made of copper to withstand a massive surge of electricity. Then the capacitor builds up so much charge that the air in the spark gap is broken down. The current flow bursts out of the capacitor, creating a magnetic field. This breaks down quickly, supplying the secondary coil with an electric current. Although the coil doesn't have much bearing in today's modern world, it was a complete game changer back then when it came to understanding electricity. Today, Tesla coils can be seen in many museums around the world, including the Griffith Park Observatory in Los Angeles, California. Number 6. Xrays. It was in 1894 that Tesla began many investigations into what he called invisible kinds of energy. This started after he was reviewing some damaged film results from previous experiments in his laboratory and saw strange and unusual pictures. He later named what he saw as Roentgen rays, or as we know it now, X-rays. The experiments he did were using a cold cathode electrical discharge tube called a Crookes tube. Without meaning to, Tesla captured the first X-ray image. He was actually trying to photograph Mark Twain being lit up with a Geissler tube, but the only thing he captured in the photo was the metal lock screw from the camera. Although this may seem like a failed experiment, it actually enlightened him on how to take X-ray images, or what he called shadow images. Spurred on by Wilhelm Röntgen's announcement of discovery of radiography, Tesla decided to experiment further in the field, developing his own methods of this imaging working from the output of his Tesla coil. Number 5. Radio. When you ask most people about the origins of radio, it is not Tesla's name that's usually brought up, but rather, Guglielmo Marconi is usually thought to be the one to have invented it. However, in 1943, Marconi's patent design for the radio was overturned by the Supreme Court. It had been proven that Nikola Tesla invented the radio a number of years before Marconi. In 1883, at the National Electric Light Association presentation, Tesla was demonstrating radio signals being just another frequency that need to travel via a transmitter and receiver. When, in 1897, he tried to apply for 2 patents on the topic, the U.S. Patent Office awarded the decision to Marconi. This was likely due to his having very wealthy financial backers, such as Thomas Edison and Andrew Carnegie. It showed even then, though, that who you know is often more beneficial than what you know. Number 4. Remote control. In November of 1898, Nikola Tesla received a patent for his design of the remote control boat. He presented the first model at the Electrical Exhibition in Madison Square Gardens in 1898. When he first demonstrated his boat to the public, everyone was shocked at the sight of a boat that was seemingly moving by itself. They claimed wild explanations, such as Tesla being a magician or having some kind of telepathic superpowers. They even suggested that inside the boat there was a tiny trained monkey who was steering the boat. The boat had a long antenna, which transmitted radio waves into mechanical movements within the boat. These radio waves were coming from Tesla, who was stationed in a command post. At the time, this made front-page news all around America. Tesla tried to pitch his idea to the military, claiming his remote control invention could be transformed into a remote-controlled torpedo, but at the time they showed little interest. As we know, remote control plays a huge part in many industries today, including the military. It also plays a huge role in allowing me to stay seated on my couch while surfing my favorite TV shows. Number 3. AC electric motor. In 1887, the Tesla Electric Company was formed. Together with Alfred S. Brown, a Western Union superintendent, and Charles F. Peck, a New York attorney, Tesla decided to promote his newest ideas for electrical equipment, mainly the thermomagnetic motor. Brown and Peck were the financial backers to Tesla's newest ideas and were experienced in setting up companies and promoting products for other inventors. They set up a laboratory for him in Manhattan, and this was where he developed the induction motor that ran on alternating current. The motor used what's known as polyphase current, an electric current that generated a rotating magnetic field in order to turn the motor. The main selling point of this motor was that it was self-starting, not requiring a commutator. This meant that it avoided problems like sparking and the need to constantly service mechanical parts. George Westinghouse of Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company was currently in the market for an AC motor and power system at the time. And in 1888, Brown and Peck negotiated a deal with him for the polyphase induction motor. It all came at an unfortunate time, however, as the financial panic of 1890 caused many investors to take back their loans to Westinghouse, and it would be another 6 years before they could purchase Tesla's patent design for a lump sum. Number 2. Robotics. Tesla had a very scientific brain and was always looking to the future with his inventions. After his work with the remote control and the success of the radio-controlled boat he exhibited, his thoughts of work on robotics was not far behind. He was inspired by the work of René Descartes, who discussed the idea of the soulless machine and that all living beings are simply robots driven by external impulses. He thought of robotics as machines akin to the human body with the abilities to move, change direction, and respond to environmental stimuli. When thinking about the robotic possibilities, however, Tesla did conclude that these robots, or automatons as he called them then, should not copy all characteristics of human beings. What he meant by this was that they should not be able to grow or propagate, an argument that still exists in the fields of robotics and artificial intelligence today. Tesla, after his idea pitches to the military about radio-controlled machinery fell on deaf ears, began to further his work on robotics for himself only. He built a quasi-intelligent, tele-automatic car and a dozen other such intelligent mechanical inventions. Number 1. The laser. This last one is a strange and somewhat crazy addition to our list. In the 1930s, Tesla had, well, on paper anyway, invented a particle beam weapon that was, in theory, capable of generating an intense and lethal targeted beam of energy. That's right, the death ray. although it was ironically referred to at the time as the Peace Ray, as Tesla pitched it as being able to get rid of enemies' warplanes and foreign armies. He pitched the idea to many military units, but the laser was never actually constructed, and, very bizarrely, the plans for the laser were never found after his death. It seems he took that one entirely to the grave. What do you think about this brilliant inventor? Which invention do you think is purely amazing? Let us know in the comments below. And, of course, I'm going to ask to click that subscribe button. Later!